चैतन्यमयी सत्यमयी परमे आनन्दमयी चैतन्यमयी सत्यमयी परमे आनन्दमयी चैतन्यमयी सत्यमयी परमे. Namaste everybody. Good evening. Happy International Yoga Day. So good to see all of you here. So I wanted to just say a few words before we start with the topic, because ours is integral yoga and it's a blessing. I always feel that it's not restricted to the physical asanas, but our yoga is all about how we consecrate at the mental level, physical level, and psychic level, and emotional level or vital level to the divine in whatever we do, right? While I'm giving a lecture, or while you're listening to the lecture, while you're walking. So every act of ours can just be a consecration of the divine, and that's how we kind of transform this life and open it to the divine light to work within us, right? And transform our lower nature into life divine. I think if I have to just sum it up in these few words, integral yoga is all about that. And it's a blessing for all of us. We're so fortunate to be in this path where Mother and Sri Aurobindo both of them are guiding us in our spiritual journey. So let us take a moment of gratitude that we are the chosen ones. I always feel so blessed. We are not still struggling to go search so many places, but just that gratitude that we are here, and we don't have to worry about how we can proceed in our spiritual journey, because she's going to take us forward. All we have to do is just offer and be receptive. So we'll just take a moment of gratitude to open up our hearts, allow her to fill all of us with her light, energy, the Shakti, the divine love, Ananda. Just within us, and like a nice comforting blanket around you, like a protector. And which is also widening to the entire room. This light of hers is spreading across, just floating happily. So blissful, so peaceful. Just immerse yourself in it. And feel that gratitude deep within. Slowly you can just become aware of the noises around you. and get back to your focus on the breathing. And whenever you're ready, you can just quietly open your eyes. Thank you. So today's topic, that for all of us, that when I was just thinking of what should I do on, suddenly this topic came up and I was like, money. So this is something that is extremely practical, that we are dealing with day in, day out. Like as I was coming to the ashram, I was just looking around, everybody constantly in pursuit of money. So many shops, so much of consumerism around, and that everybody doing so many things constantly, I think only with that desire to possess money, earn money. So this is something which is there with everybody. It's not like only with them and I don't have it. It's something that all of us are constantly thinking about. But this particular talk, I wanted to bring about what Mother and Sri Aurobindo have talked about. First, what is money? How do we understand this concept? Secondly, what is the attitude that we can develop when we are dealing with money? I think predominantly with this, and I try to put in some examples which can which are very, very inspiring from the life of Mother and Sri Aurobindo, and some of the experiences that Mother shares, very beautiful experiences. So all of these put together, and I think towards the end we'll see what kind of a prayer can we all have when we are dealing with money. So this is going to be the structure. So Sri Aurobindo says, money is the visible sign of a universal force, and this force in its manifestation on earth works on the vital and physical planes and is indispensable to the fullness of outer life. So there are so many things in this particular sentence that Sri Aurobindo has given us. First, he says that it is a visible sign because there is a physical expression to money. That is, there are bank notes that are exchange, gold, whatever, that's wealth. That's their different forms of wealth. And it is a force. It is not just the physical money that we are seeing, but it is a universal force. So you must all be aware of the Panchabhutas, right? The air, water, fire, wind, earth, all of these are the Panchabhutas. Similar to that, money is also, or if I have to put it a little more generally, wealth is also something that is a force that is there in the universe, and it is almost possessed, controlled. It's almost like a force that is flowing amongst people. As we are transacting with different people, we are exchanging that force, we are allowing that force to go from us to that person to somebody else, and the whole network. So all of this is a force that is there, and it works on the vital and physical planes. So different planes that Sri Aurobindo talks about. So specifically, the physical plane is where we are talking about, when we are talking about money, how there is an exchange between people, and there is a desire that is attached which comes from the vital plane, and this force is always mostly in the hands of the vital beings, is what Sri Aurobindo and Mother specifically talks about, how money is being controlled and owned by the vital beings in the vital plane. However, again there's a catch here, because it originally belongs to the divine. Just like how when the manifestation of life has taken place, and how there was light, energy, Shakti and all of Ananda, everything has evolved at that time. Similar to that, there is opposite also that started to exist, at a later point in time. For example, there's light, there's also darkness, there's knowledge, there's also ignorance. So same thing, how it was originally with the divine, and slowly, because of the ignorance, because of how humans dealt with money, it that kind of transition happened to the vital plane. And the last part here is the fullness of it is indispensable, he says. Sri Aurobindo is not saying don't have money, or rather leave all the money and then go to the forest and live your life. Never. Integral yoga is never about that we all know. So for us to manifest and transform this life, we need to experience it and experience in its fullness. So something that comes to my mind here, when mother used to get ready in the ashram to give darshan and all, she would actually wear silk saris, and actually she would really enjoy getting ready. And somebody was like, there will be so many devotees who will have a lot of thoughts, questions. So they were like, why is it necessary for mother to wear silk saris and get ready and all of that? And then Sri Aurobindo was like, when the divine is herself there, when we look at Mahalakshmi picture, like the goddess that is represented in the scriptures, she's all adorned with jewels and riches and opulence. So she looks so magnificent. So why can't the mother, when she's there, her incarnation right in front, so why can't she actually be that way? So that's something so beautiful. Like our puny mind only talks about how much is involved, what is this calculation and all of that. But when we step back and see what's the force like, then we will be able to open our mind. So it is the notes that we see, or the coins, all of that is the physical expression of a force, possessed and controlled by, again, different kind of vital beings, like I said. And so wealth is something that is a little more broader. Anything that is involved in as an aspect of our well-being. So this particular meaning is discussed from some of the scriptures, like earlier Hindu scriptures. Wealth is not just money, but anything that enhances the well-being of a person. For example, food, success, family, health, knowledge, spiritual growth, all of these is considered as wealth. And if you have to understand this a little more deeper, when we look at Ashtalakshmi, so there are 8 types of Lakshmi: Dhanya Lakshmi, Dhana Lakshmi. So all of these are nothing but different representations of the different aspects of the well-being. So that's how wealth is something that can be understood. And again, moving on little, money is a force and should not be an individual possession. So again, what mother says is, it's a force that should flow like air, water, but it should not be hoarded, and it should not be more than what we want. So again, to me, the question came up, okay, does that mean, we should not have savings, we should not, earn more than what is necessary? So that's the question that came to me. Then when I read up, an answer that immediately came was, what mother says is basically, you earn what is necessary or more than necessary, whatever, but use what is necessary for your survival, and rest goes and belongs to the divine. So if we are earning so and so, and if we know that this is something that is needed for my survival, the rest ideally should go to the divine. So either you contribute to the ashram, or you contribute in whichever way, in which again she somewhere mentions that this it should be contributed to making the earth more better and for transformation. So any process that involves transformation of individuals towards the divine, money can go there. So that's something that can be kept in mind. And again, I was like, okay, still, what if we haven't reached that situation where we are able to completely take only a little bit for ourselves, and just give what is there completely. She also says then there is, there is a time where you can still act as if the money is, you're just an instrument, the money is there with you, and in any exchange transaction that you're making, you're just there, and you are having an attitude of equanimity. Again, that is something that is extremely important. Equanimity and disinterestedness, where the money is flowing through you to somebody else, it's coming to you, but you're not attached. You're just being an instrument there where the entire flow is happening. So that's something that Mother talks about. So one example here, so some of the examples I have also taken from Srinivas Uncle's talks, which he gave during the COVID time in Auro Youth series. So I'm quoting some of the examples from that talk. So one example that he states is, there was one patient who was suffering from COVID, and he had to be admitted, and there was a ventilation support and all that was given. And then after he got discharged, so he started crying, and then everybody was like, okay, worried whether he's doing fine and all, and then they checked, he was fine. And then the answer that he gave was extremely, so beautiful, that he was like, I had to pay these guys for 3 days of ventilation support, whatever, 50,000, 1 lakh or 2 lakhs, for just so that my lungs are kept in condition and I'm able to breathe and continue my life. But I have never thanked God for allowing me to breathe freely every minute that I was on this earth, and I'm so 50 or 55 years old, but never did I have that gratitude for the air that I'm breathing. So so it's about, there's so much of abundance that is there around you, abundance of wealth that is there, but we are not realizing. Always we think it's limited, this person is having this much, I am not having this. Always we are stuck in our mental calculation of what is needed, what is not needed. So that sort of a thing. But the truth is, there is abundance of wealth, and the more we expand our consciousness, the more we are able to be disinterested with it, the more we are able to handle it accurately. So then another aspect here is, money is not an end itself. So a lot of people, what do you want to become? I want to earn a lot of money. So that's sort of a thought that has been injected in a lot of teenagers nowadays, unfortunately. But I think over the period or over a few years, they realize it's not an end itself. You having money, that's not satisfying. But what is the true success? Of course, the union with the divine, realizing our purpose in this life. That is something that at the end we are all striving for. So money is never an end itself, but it's only a means, it's a force, it's a power that we are constantly dealing with, and it should not be accumulated, but it should be allowed to move freely between people. So when I explained to you about in integral yoga, how we are not going to go to forests and all of that, but right here we are able to do this yoga. So one of the gods that is mentioned in the scriptures is Yogeshwara Krishna. So how he is basically described as just sitting with lot of being dressed up and lot of jewels on him. So he's incarnate, he's decorated, but sitting in a yoga mudra or sitting in meditation. So that's sort of an attitude that we all have to develop. Though we have a lot of wealth, money, but we are able to be in that impersonal state, disinterested state, and allow it to flow. So that's one thing. And Kubera, Lord Kubera is considered to be the god of money. So one interesting story comes to my mind when I was narrating this to my daughter. So this Kubera, Lord Kubera, was somebody who's very arrogant when he has got this boon that unlimited riches he can have. from Lord Shiva. That's when he's got the boom, and he was very, very arrogant and pride about his wealth, and he in fact wanted to show this off to Lord Shiva itself. That's the irony here. So then he goes to Shiva, then he throws a party in his castle and he invites everybody in the city, and his city was again one of the most magnificent cities. And he invites Shiva, Lord Shiva, and of course Lord Shiva knows that this is just a show off and he needs to teach him a lesson. And he says, okay, I will send my son Ganesha, you please take him for your feast, whatever you're having, on my behalf. And then he agrees and he gets Ganesha to his kingdom, and he gets the best of cooks and the best of dishes be made in large quantities. So when Ganesha comes to the castle, so he starts eating and he finishes tons and tons of food, everything that is there he completely sweeps off, and still he says, I'm very hungry, and he starts eating the palace and he starts eating chairs, tables and everything. And this guy gets very worried and he says, oh my god, like there's no more food that I can give him. Now I need to go back to Shiva, Lord Shiva, and ask him what is it that I can do. And then he goes to Lord Shiva and begs him, please tell me what is it that I can do, and I'm sorry that this is not what I should have done. And he realizes his mistake to some extent, and Lord Shiva says, just give him few morsels of food with love, right? So then he comes back and he gives him just a few grains of rice with love, and the Ganesha takes it and his hunger is satisfied. So it's all about the attitude that we have towards the wealth. And there is also another goddess who is the opposite of Lakshmi. It's referred to as Alakshmi, and her Vahana is crow. And in some villages, apparently they put some food outside so that it can be given to the crows, it can be given to some beggars, so that poverty, or rather Alakshmi, does not come to their house. She is satisfied and she is no longer craving to reside in their house. And interestingly, a lot of communities also, for example, Marwadi communities is recognized for their wealth. So mother says also somewhere, it is because the way they treat wealth, how Marwadi community flourished and how they protect wealth is how they respect wealth. So which also reminds me, most of the Marwadi communities definitely pray to Lakshmi Devta, and they also, when they give the money, they put some kumkum, and then they receive a lot of love and respect around handling money. They don't just loosely handle money. So that's the kind of an attitude or the way we can handle money. And mother also mentioned that the color of wealth is deep golden or deep reddish. So in her vision, when she saw a lot of wealth, and the force that she had, the light that was there was of deep golden. And again, this, if we have to connect back to the scriptures, in the Sri Suktam, the first line itself is Hiranyavarnam Harinim Suvarna Rajatasrajam. So that is nothing but Mahalakshmi is personified in the golden color. So that is also something that is there. So moving on, the present state of life, that how all of us, get so swamped in our day-to-day routine that we are so involved in, waking up, getting into this whole life of earning money, eating and dying. So that's predominantly the cycle, living, eating, earning money, dying. So the psychic, where what mother says is, psychic is almost being like a witness. Every birth, your psychic is always, waiting there. Whole evolution of things, it knows. And it's so conscious in your body. Every time the body goes on with the little habits from time when there was a mind and a vital, really it feels it as a buffoonery. Always engaging in this pursuit of money, eating, dying. So it feels so stupid where this consciousness is always about these awesome things of eating, dying, and having money. So that we should move out of this cycle in order to break this chain. In this material world, in fact, for men, money is more sacred than the divine's will. So that is the state that a lot of people, a lot of us belong there. So then moving on to something that is more practical now. So what is the attitude that we can have towards money? So here I would like to start with first referring to Sri Aurobindo's first madness. So when he has written a letter to his wife Mrinalini Devi, he's talked about 3 madnesses. So the first madness was with respect to the money. So that's something that we're going to touch upon. And the second was about God, that he wants to see God. And the third one was about the country, that how he wanted freedom and did not wanted anybody to suck the mother's blood and all of that. So the first madness was, it is my firm fate that all the virtue, talent, higher education and knowledge and the wealth God has given me belongs to him. He says that whatever wealth I have, knowledge and everything, it belongs to God. I have the right to spend only so much as is necessary for the maintenance of the family and on what is absolutely needed. Whatever remains should be returned to the divine. And he also says, if I spend all on myself for personal comfort, for luxury, then I am a thief. So, this was a very, eye-opening statement that literally, when I look at my life, or rather look at whoever is around me, all we do is spend everything on our own selves. And really, I think hardly any money goes to the divine or any other charity. So, if we become more conscious of how we are spending our money and how we are receiving this money, and see how we can channel more and reduce where it's not necessary and be conscious with this course, I think that's one step that we can really begin with. And it's not that he says this. Again, you may ask, okay, a lot of people just say this. No. But Sri Aurobindo is never a person who will just say, but he's always somebody who will practice something, and that's when he'll also mention. So this is a proof also from one of the letters that his friend talks about how Sri Aurobindo used to do a lot of money orders, transfer money orders to his mother and sister, and he would live in a very, very meager amount, whatever is necessary for him, and he would also use it for the publications of the books and for the divine cause, whatever other causes. So no, not a paisa was ill spent, is what his Dinendra Kumar Roy, one of his at that time his friends, I would say. So then when he also asked him, so what happened was he used to keep sending these regular money orders, and this person, this Dinendra Kumar Roy, wanted some money, and he also wanted to send to some of his family members. So but he did not have the courage to ask Sri Aurobindo, but when he was actually sending the money order, he went up to him and asked, can you lend me some money? And then Sri Aurobindo immediately said, he opened his pouch, whatever money was there, he gave the entire amount to this person, and he told, you can send. Then he said, no, I just, whatever was left after you sent, I wanted to take that, you can take it. And he said, no, I can do this later, it seems like your need is more than mine. And he gave it completely and immediately left that place. So that clearly shows the generosity with which he gave money, and again, not sitting and cribbing about it, or not even thinking that, oh my God, I've helped him, or anything to do with ego. But he just gave him and just left and continued to do whatever work he was doing. So, I mean, it was a very, very touching, beautiful story where Sri Aurobindo's generosity is clearly mentioned. So that's, with that sort of an attitude, we will also discuss other aspects. So what is necessary is the purification of our physical. Because money belongs to these physical and vital planes, it's important that in our body we purify our physical aspect and the vital aspect. Now, what is this physical consisting of? Just look, or rather imagine the house that you are living, the surroundings, everything. Is it something that is tidy, disorganized, messy, unclean? Are you a person who's, lazy, procrastinates a lot, agitated lot of times, and bitter speech? So are you somebody like this? Or, are you somebody who's able to, be grateful? Are you somebody who's be able to be generous, experience that abundance and opulence, detachment, that sort of a person? So you need to understand where are you getting stuck with respect to your physical and the vital, which is of ego, desire, jealousy, argumentativeness. So are you possessing all of this? It's not just about the money you deal, but the way in which you are as a person is also extremely important. So it's important for us to develop beauty. Generosity is not just in giving money, but in also the speech that we speak. Are you able to recognize somebody's strengths? Are you able to appreciate the other person? Are you able to spend time with somebody who is in need or who is looking out for help, who wants to be with you? So again, here one beautiful example comes with respect to generosity. So there was one of the saints, rishis, who was in the Himalayas, and he used to meditate in the cave, and when he would come out, and then he would do his other works and then return to the cave. So that once when he came out of the cave, there was a thief who ran and he wanted to take a blanket. So the saint saw the thief stealing the blanket, and the thief is running and slowly he's entering the cave. So he saw that and he goes inside, takes another blanket and runs behind the thief and shouting that, take this is a better blanket, it can keep you warmer than that. So this is the level of generosity that we've spoken about different sorts, but this is extremely a different kind. So beautiful I felt of how he wanted to give him with that kind of love, and developing gratitude, good speech, moderation and detachment, cheerfulness, being happy, contented with what we have. So these qualities attract wealth, or rather that sort of qualities of Lakshmi, harmony, beauty and contentment, peace. All of these Lakshmi, Goddess Lakshmi gives us. And the second one is desire for money and attachment. So three things that mostly we are always stuck with: ambition, showing off, dominating, self-esteem, and this greed for money. Always I want to. So when you are stuck with all of this, everything is muddled up, is what Sri Aurobindo says. So another story. Mother says here she had an experience, rather vision, of a lady who was extremely attached to her wealth. So she earned a lot, but she was very, very attached, and she always protected that wealth, never shared it with anybody, or rather gave for charity, nothing. She was always wanting to safeguard that wealth. And she dies, and then even after she dies, she again, this apart from this story also, there are some vital beings, or rather somebody who is so attached to wealth comes back and always wants to safeguard that place and not allow others to steal that wealth or treasure. So that is something that happens sometimes. Similarly, this lady also was roaming around always that wealth and seeing her children. She had 3 children, and all the 3 children were spending her money excessively, randomly, without even any kind of a concern or care, and her heart was breaking even as a vital being in the vital world. So she came to the mother and told that, see, these children are squandering my money, and she was extremely unhappy, and the mother kind of consoled her. And that's one story where, if the desire, if it's so strong with respect to anything, not only wealth, but any other aspects that we in the world that we can get attached to, it can even continue to the rest of our lives as well. So it's very important to be very cautious. What is this greed that we are having towards attachment, and how well can we just take a step back, become conscious, slowly offer and get transformed in this life itself. So another thing which also mother talks about is, it is infinitely, we may think, somebody who's rich, wow, he or she is so amazing, her life is so perfect, she has everything, I wish I can be like that. So many people have this sort of thinking. But mother says it is infinitely more difficult to be good, to be wise, to be intelligent and generous, to be more generous when one is rich than when one is poor. So she says that the more you become rich, what happens? You will have so many things at your disposal. You are always striving towards more money, more comforts, more luxuries. Lot of sordid attachment to money, she calls it. And this can be like an illness for that person, constantly, or rather so overwhelmed and succumbed by this need for money all the time. And for example, people also store money in walls and suitcases, farmhouses, whatever, so and so. And they're constantly in that fear, when can this raid happen, when will they lose money and all of that. And she also says so many people that have lost money too, because they hoarded so much money, and there was a time when they literally lost everything and they were on streets as well. He who doesn't possess anything is always free. So money is not something that will bring happiness, but what is it that the person is doing, that's important. And another thing with respect to this having money is also, when we are having so much wealth, or when we are always engrossed in accumulating wealth, what happens is we are putting a lot of our energy into satisfying this, and we are not bothered about even thinking about the divine or even getting into that path. So what happens is our life gets replaced by this constant need, and it's not that we are happy that we have money, but always happens that the money he is desired, he is not happy, but he is tormented by the wealth he has gained. And I'll just read from here, it's an interesting phrase what mother says. I'm not able to find it, but yeah, so that's basically, our energy always gets transferred in this way. So we will not have scope to actually pray. So somebody who's always behind this money is always fearful, always in tension, pressure. So they don't have time to experience this contentment, experience this joy, this sort of spiritual whatever the spiritual journey offers us. They don't really have that sort of an inclination itself. So he exchanges this for other possibilities. Yes, this is the phrase that I was looking at. So you may not judge things from an outer success or a semblance of defeat. We may say generally this is what almost always happens. We could say that the divine gives what one desires, and of all lessons, this is the best. For if your desire is inconscient, obscure, egoistic, you increase the unconsciousness, the darkness, egoism within yourself. That is to say, this takes you farther and farther away from the truth, from consciousness and happiness, and away from the divine. So Sri Aurobindo also talks about a weak bondage to the habits that the possession of riches creates. So that's one phrase. Okay, now I'll slowly move to other aspects of the attitude. So when we have wealth also, something that we can, the attitude is not to spend, not to, be always like a miser who's always trying to keep and hoard. So you may pile up your money, but it doesn't belong to you until you spend it. Then you have the merit, the glory, the joy and pleasure of spending it. So money should always be in circulation, and it should be meant to make the earth ready for the new creation, conditions of life and progress in human consciousness. And another aspect again interesting here is by not taking money seriously. So again, this is an interesting point. I thought the attitude that we should have towards money is to not take it seriously. So one thing that we need to understand is there are rhythms of wealth that happens. There will be a time when we are, there's abundance that is there with us in our lives. You can just think of your own lives. When you had a lot of money, how things were. And when you were in financial crisis, when you did not have enough money, or when you were getting looted, or when you were getting cheated, what was your state like? So we need to become conscious and understand there is a time when you get it, there is a time when you lose it. So this is going to happen, and the way we look at it is something that we need to change. The way we look at it is something that we can become conscious and disinterested. When it comes, we should not be vitally elated. When it goes, we should not get into the dumps, but just be there for things to settle down. So don't take money with lot of seriousness. The moment you are disinterested and detached, whatever you require. Again, this is another nice story that comes to my mind. Mother says, when she used to pray for money, that whenever she would ask for money, exactly that much money would pour in, and for that particular purpose. And once what happened, she wanted money for the ashram, and I am sure you all know that there was a lot of financial difficulty in the ashram. There were many years of financial difficulties which Mother and Sri Aurobindo did face. So two things I want to mention here. One is I questioned, like why was there a difficulty financially when Mother herself spoke so much about wealth and Sri Aurobindo has given so much? Why couldn't they really get the wealth what was needed for the ashram, and why did they suffer so much? So that was one question. So to which Sri Aurobindo has a beautiful answer, where he says that when there is the divine work that was being done in the ashram, so there's a lot of energy from the inconscient that also comes up, the darkness that gets revealed. So here I can say the extreme acuteness of your difficulties is due to the yoga having come down against the bedrock of inconscience, which is the fundamental basis of all resistance in the individual and in the world to the victory of the spirit and the divine work that is leading towards victory. The difficulties themselves are general in the ashram as well as in the outside world. So when we are in the spiritual path, we may question, why is it happening to me? So at that time, you can get an answer from here. Basically, when there's so much churning, there's so many difficulties also that come through, and it is an opportunity to work through the difficulties to progress. So yeah. So then then here I would also read one interesting conversation that Sri Aurobindo had. So one of the one of the devotees asked Sri Aurobindo, rather there was a discussion between Nirod Baran, Champak Lal and Sri Aurobindo and Dr. Manilal. So they discuss about how what is the bhakti of a robber. So somebody who is stealing and giving the money to the divine. So what is that sort of a bhakti? Is it a bhakti or not? So it's a funny conversation. So Nirod Baran says to Dr. Manilal, what do you mean by expression of such things? Go to Dilip, he will say, whether a man is a bhakta or not can be judged only by his dealing with money. Money is the test. If you can't offer money to the divine, your sincerity is not genuine. And Champaklalji says, there are plenty of people who are bhaktas, but when the money question comes, their bhakti disappears. And Sri Aurobindo was enjoying this talk. Then Dr. Manilal, if money was the test, then robbers are also bhaktas. Some of them rob money and offer part of their plunder to their god. Is that bhakti? Sri Aurobindo, why not? Dr. Manilal, how can it be, sir? They get the money by robbing others and offer it as a bribe. Is that true bhakti? So Sri Aurobindo says, what is true bhakti? There is no true or false bhakti. Bhakti is bhakti. Commercial people rob others and give offerings to God. Is it not bhakti? And there's a couple of exchanges here, but I'll get to the crux where Sri Aurobindo explains the forms of bhakti. I don't understand the point about motive here. There are two kinds of bhakti, Sahaituki and Ahaituki. So Sahaituki bhakti is that type which may have a motive, but it does not mean that it is not bhakti. Ahaituki is, of course, without motive or demand. If the divine were to accept offerings only from the virtuous people, it would be a hard outlook for the world. So this is also one of the conversations that talks about whatever however, first of all, we are getting money. First, it's important whether we are offering with that, what kind of a conscience that we are offering, and what is the attitude that we are having when we offer it to the divine. Yes. So another thing that I want to say here is, so once again there was an interesting incident that when mother was so there was a doctor in the ashram, and he says that somebody is asking to be cured, mother, can I cure him by giving this Ayurvedic medicine, and in exchange I will take the money and bring it to the ashram. I will contribute to the ashram itself. Can I do this? Then the mother says, you can give the medicine if you like, but we cannot take the money as payment. It is not like an exchange, this you do this, you get this, that sort of a transaction. All money that comes here must be an offering. So what mother always says is, what we offer to the ashram should be with love, should be with that kind of bhakti, that sincerity, and not just like I'm doing this so that I'll get this, or that sort of a transaction kind of a attitude. Then surrender is something that is also very, very important. One must first know what the divine will is, but there is a surer way to surrender money for the divine work. Now one devotee asks, how can one know if one's way of using money is in accordance with the divine will? Right? So we should know what is divine's will. So first one must know, mother answers, what the divine will is. So if you don't know, just surrender money for the divine work if one is not sure oneself. Divinely means at the service of the divine. It means not to use money for one's own personal satisfaction, but to place it at the divine service. And this is a beautiful quotation here. My whole effort is to live from minute to minute. I mean, to do every minute exactly what should be done, without making plans, without thinking, because it all becomes mental. As soon as you start thinking something out, and that's no longer it, but quite instinctively and spontaneously, I do what needs to be done. This, that, this. When something needs a response, it comes. As for money, it's the same thing. The only thing I'm led to do is to say, so and so has asked for so much, such and such service needs so much, like that. Not a long time in advance, but when it becomes imperative, and that's all. It's like that. So I don't know what will happen tomorrow. I don't at all seek to know what's going to happen. So that's how mother used to deal with money. Again here, a living example of somebody who's actually practiced this comes to my mind, Dr. Alok Pandey. So apparently I think there was a time, I don't know if he's still continuing, where he decided he's not going to spend anything for his own personal expenses, and he wanted to travel abroad, and he wanted the particular shoes, and I think before the travel, just before a few days, somebody in fact gifted him a shoes exactly of the same size that was required for him. So so that's when when whatever is needed you offer, you say, and it will come at the right time. And that too, imagine somebody gifting a shoes of exact size. Usually that doesn't happen. But very interesting, beautiful example, because he is such a sincere child of the mother, always connected. And not, when we pray, it's not like we doubt and be always scared, and not with that sort of a prayer, but when we are able to give to her completely, I think it comes when it's supposed to come. Then I think the last few. So when we are giving money, what is the attitude? So the first thing to do when one has money is to give it. But as it is said that it should not be given without discernment, don't go and give it like those who practice philanthropy, because that fills them with a sense of their own goodness, their generosity, and their own importance. You must act in a sattvic way, that is, make the best possible use of it. And so each one must find in his highest consciousness what the best possible use of the money he has can be. And truly money has no value unless it circulates. For each and every one, money is valuable only when one has spent it. So when we are giving something to the divine, giving something to somebody, always try to detach yourself and your ego, put aside your ego and just offer it with all your heart. And that's when, and with respect to even taking gifts, again somebody asked, this is a very, very practical problem that all of us, usually suffer, that when you give some gifts, or rather when you do not accept from somebody, when you accept from somebody, and others have a problem with it. Okay, so a practical problem comes up more and more often. Should one who is preparing to do yoga and has made it a general rule to offer you everything and depend entirely on you, accept gifts in money or kind coming from others? Because if he accepts, he is put under personal obligation and duty. Can a sadhak allow this? Can he say to himself, the divine has many ways of giving? To which mother says, what is to be done? And then if there is a quarrel and if there is a bitterness and all involved also, what is it that we have to do? The divine has many ways of giving. That is absolutely right what mother says. One never has any obligation to anybody. One has an obligation only to the divine and there totally. When a gift is made without any conditions, one can always take it coming from the divine and leave it to the divine to take care of what is needed in exchange or response. But when it's coming from a lot of expectation, ill will, jealousy and all of that, just be, have a nice benevolent smile to any bitterest words that they say and just keep silent is what mother says. Like, again, I found this very, very helpful for us to practice it in our own. And again, another interesting episode, or rather one of the experiences which mother talks about, is how when there were financial difficulties in the ashram, she did have, when everybody talks about Ganesha, and then she really wanted to see whether Ganesha exists or not, and then when she sat in meditation, concentrated, and immediately Ganesha was like, I am here. He comes to her, and then she says, I heard that you give you can give money, so I need money for the ashram. And then he agrees, and apparently for 10 years, next 10 years, money was pouring in from so many people, and there was no financial difficulty in the ashram at all. And then later, when again she asked Ganesha what happened, that you are not continuing, because that's a question that I had. Why only 10 years, and what happened next? And literally mother also asks Ganesha, and then it's not in my capacity now, that he says, apparently because later they were also looking out for donations from America and across the world, and he says, mother says that his power is limited to India and the bhaktas here. So yeah, that's an interesting episode, how mother also had an agreement with Lord Ganesh for the difficulties. So yeah. So another thing, you must neither turn with an ascetic shrinking. So what sort of an attitude? One is neither completely, just I don't want money. That's never an attitude. Nor the rajasic attachment, that I want money always, that self-indulgence, gratifications. Not that. Regard wealth simply as a power to be won back for the mother and placed at her service, right? So if you are able to be detached and just have that equality of mind, absence of demand, and the full dedication of all that you possess and receive, and all your power of acquisition to the divine Shakti, and her works are the signs of this freedom. So another thing that Aurobindo talks about, 3 things that are very, very difficult to conquer: money, power and sex. So the moment we are able to gain, or rather conquer these 3, then we can be completely transformed, and this world can be freed from this sort of vital domination on the money. So mother also had a beautiful experience when she was in her meditation. Then she goes to a world where she sees a lot of the source of money. She says, describes that this was the source, the place which, and a lot of power over money, and she wanted to enter the space but she could not. There was a serpent which was guarding the space, and she said, the serpent says, I cannot allow you to pass. And she says, why? And she says, they will not allow me. Who are they? They are the Asuric powers who rule over money. They have put me to guard the entrance precisely so that nobody can enter. So then Mata asks, how can I get the power to enter? And then he tells her that I heard that he who gives have a total power over human sexual impulses, not merely in himself, but a universal power, that a power enabling him to control this everywhere among all men, will have the right to enter. These forces should not be able to prevent him from entering. So that's how that's how much will that we need to have to overcome this desire, attachment to money. So the last part of what is the prayer that we can say. So here Mother says, a day shall come when all the wealth of this world, freed at last from the enslavement to the anti-divine forces, offers itself spontaneously and fully to the service of the divine's work upon earth. You will get all your needs from me. This was the day of complete surrender. From this morning I began to... So when one of the devotees asks the mother, like with respect to money and all of it, how she surrenders, mother replies, from this morning I began to take my meals from mother, gave up to her all the money I possessed. Mother remarked, giving up all your money to me implies that you will get all your needs from me. So it's not like, she lost something, but she's just given to mother, and mother will anyway take care of her. So one sadhak says, when I offer money to you, the I spoils the offering. Let the I disappear, O Divine Mother. Let the pure and true consciousness be established in your child. So I think with this beautiful prayer, small and short prayer, that we can all first be grateful for whatever wealth that we possess. We are able to have this state of mind, we are able to be here, and how we can aspire to give her as much as we can for her work, for her manifestation here.